It was late evening when the city had begun to glow under the weight of countless lights. Inside the tall glass tower where I worked, the office was almost empty. Most of the employees had already left, carrying their laughter and chatter with them, leaving behind only the faint hum of air conditioning and the dim yellow glow of desk lamps. I sat in my corner cubicle, staring at the screen, though the words no longer made sense. Numbers blurred, documents merged together, and in the silence of the empty office, my thoughts wandered. They always wandered, to her. Clara. She was my boss, my manager, the woman whose presence carried both elegance and authority. She wasn't just beautiful, though that alone could have been enough to steal anyone's breath, but she carried herself with a grace that turned heads and softened rooms. Her voice was low, steady, confident. Every time she walked past, her perfume lingered in the air like an unspoken memory, and I found myself wishing the world would stop just for me to look a little longer. She was older than me, though I never truly thought of her in numbers. She often joked about it, throwing off comments about how young people like me had endless energy, but I never once cared about the years between us. To me, she was timeless. That evening, I had stayed behind because she asked me to help with a project. She had been working on it all week, and deadlines pressed hard against her schedule. I didn't hesitate when she asked, how could I? Any excuse to spend more time with her felt like a gift. When she finally emerged from her office, holding a stack of papers, I saw how tired she looked. Her hair was pinned neatly, as always, but a few loose strands had escaped, brushing against her cheek. She placed the documents on my desk and gave me that soft smile that made my heart lurch. Still here? She asked, though she already knew the answer. For you, always, I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes flickered, a tiny pause, as if my words had pressed a hidden key inside her. Then she nodded and sat down across from me. For hours we worked side by side. Sometimes we exchanged small jokes, sometimes only silence stretched between us, but it was a silence that didn't feel empty. It felt charged, alive, like an invisible thread kept tying us closer with every glance, every accidental brush of fingers when she handed me a file. By the time the project was nearly done, the office was completely silent. The city outside was dark except for the scattered lights of other towers. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples, and sighed. You work too hard, I said softly. And you, she replied with a small laugh, are too young to understand what it means to be truly tired. Maybe, I smiled, but I understand enough to see when someone needs rest. Her eyes lingered on me for a moment. Longer than they should have. Then, suddenly, her smile faded into something more serious, more fragile. She tilted her head slightly and asked, almost hesitantly, would you prefer to be with someone younger? The question hit me like a thunderclap. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The words were so vulnerable, so uncharacteristic of the woman who always seemed in control. Behind her calm voice, I saw the trace of doubt, of fear, of insecurity. Perhaps she thought the age difference was a wall that stood too tall to cross. Perhaps she thought I saw her as my boss and nothing more. I leaned forward, my heart pounding, and said the only truth I had ever known since the day I met her. I don't want someone younger. I want you. The silence that followed was heavy, almost unbearable. She stared at me, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. Her fingers trembled where they rested on the desk, though she quickly folded them together to hide it. Me, she whispered, as though the word was foreign on her tongue. Yes, I said firmly. You. Her eyes softened, but they searched mine as if trying to find a lie. When she found none, she let out a quiet breath, and for the first time, I saw her vulnerability fully exposed. She wasn't just my boss anymore. She was a woman standing at the edge of a feeling she had been too afraid to name. We didn't speak after that. Not for a long time. But something shifted. The distance that had always existed between us, professional, careful, polite, crumbled in a single heartbeat. That night, as we packed up to leave, she walked beside me to the elevator. The silence stretched again, but now it was different. It pulsed with meaning. When the elevator doors closed, trapping us in the small space together, she finally spoke. You don't understand what you're saying, she murmured. I'm older, I'm your boss, people will talk. People will judge. It's complicated. I don't care about them, I said. I only care about you. Her eyes met mine, and the faintest smile curved her lips. She shook her head as though she didn't believe me, but she wanted to. When we reached the lobby, she hesitated. Instead of heading for her car, she turned to me. "Walk me out," she asked. I nodded, and together we stepped into the cool night. The streets were quiet, the world moving slower than usual. We reached her car, and she stopped, her hand lingering on the door handle, but not opening it. "Good night," she said softly, though her eyes didn't leave mine. "Good night," I replied, but I didn't move. She hesitated, then whispered, "You shouldn't make me want things I shouldn't want." "Then let me," I said, my voice low. "Because I want you to want me." For a heartbeat, she froze. And then, almost against her will, she smiled, a smile that wasn't polished or professional, but real. That night, we didn't kiss, we didn't touch. But something more powerful happened. A silent agreement was made between us, a promise unspoken. The days that followed were both torture and heaven. Every time I walked into her office, I could feel the weight of that night. The way her eyes lingered on me just a second too long, the way her voice softened when she spoke my name. One evening, a week later, she called me into her office again. The blinds were half drawn, the city lights casting soft glows through the glass. She stood by the window, arms folded, as though she had been battling with herself all day. When I stepped inside, she turned. Her eyes were serious, conflicted. "This isn't fair to you," she began. "Don't decide for me what's fair," I interrupted. She blinked, taken aback. "You think I don't know what I want?" I continued. "I do. I want you, Clara. Not because you're my boss. Not because you're older. Because you're you. And if you keep trying to push me away for my sake, you'll only hurt us both." Her lips parted, then closed again. For once, she had no response. Slowly, I stepped closer. Close enough to feel her warmth, close enough to see the storm in her eyes. "I don't care about the rules," I whispered. "I don't care about anyone else's opinion. All I care about is this, right here, right now." Her breath caught, and then, as if surrendering to something she had fought for too long, she closed the distance. Her lips pressed against mine, soft but desperate, as though the dam of restraint had finally broken. I kissed her back, pouring every unspoken word, every hidden feeling into that moment. When we pulled away, she leaned her forehead against mine, whispering, "You'll ruin me." "Then let me ruin you," I murmured. "Because you've already ruined me." That night was the beginning of everything. The stolen glances became lingering touches, the quiet moments turned into nights that stretched until dawn. We laughed together, fought together, dreamed together. She let me see the side of her no one else knew, the woman who doubted, who feared, who longed. And in return, I gave her the certainty she had been searching for all along. There were challenges, of course. People whispered, rumors spread. Some judged, some envied. But none of it mattered when we were together. Because in her eyes, I found my home. Years later, when we looked back on that night, the night she asked, "Would you prefer to be with someone younger?" we always laughed. Because that was the moment everything changed. The moment she learned that love doesn't count years. It only counts heartbeats. And mine had always been hers.